The reproduction of this content is not allowed without the express written consent of EBH Fitness LLC. We're back. Welcome back to the Borderlands Sports Report. This is the Week 9 Coaches Wrap-Up Show. And I'm joined here by Ruben Torres, head coach from Franklin High School. Coach, thanks for joining us and welcome to the show.
You got it, man. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Let's jump right into it. So you guys, big game against Eastlake on Friday. You guys were able to pull off the victory 70-56, or was it 54?
I think it was 56.
Yeah, I think it was 56. And your young man had himself a game. He had himself one for the record books.
Yeah, seems like, well, first of all, it's just been really special. I don't think, I don't know if with what's left of my career, if I'll ever have a back and an offensive line that's putting up the numbers and the production that we're having in our run game. I mean, it just seems like every week, obviously with the single season record, I think he's on pace to break that. Next time we go out there and play, but he's over 3,000 yards already in 9 games.
Yeah.
49 touchdowns, rushing. And so, I mean, it's just really been special, for us to see that and to be a part of that and to watch Ernie and this offensive unit do what they're doing. And so what I have learned over the years is to really take a step back after each game and appreciate, him and our offensive unit for what they're doing and our coaching staff. Because, I feel like it is very special and the teams that we're playing against, they're really doing a great job of trying to scheme us and make it hard on us to run the ball. And I think Ernie's just a very dynamic and special, talented player.
Yeah, and I got to ask the question. I knew when you took over the job, you had something special in Powers. But did you think he would have this kind of season like in your first year there at Franklin?
You know what? I didn't think that it would be this way. No, if I'm being completely honest. When you're giving a guy the ball that much and and I think I think it's safe to say we're pretty one-dimensional. Still 3,000 yards for one person, for one player is a lot.
It is a lot.
And then the way he's doing it too, I mean, he's not carrying the ball 40, 50 times a game. So no, I didn't think that the numbers would be what they are, especially not after 9 games being played. And of course, our Chapin game was short because of lightning, and then he didn't play a half against Socorro. And then there was just some other games where we split some carries up. And so one of the things is that, we don't try to force the ball to him. Obviously, he's going to get a lot of carries because he's the guy. But I'm very proud of our staff and our kids for, them really his supporting cast and our receivers and our line and even our quarterback, and just being committed to winning. And for us as a staff, having to really, put personnel groups together and uh, add more formations to what we're doing to gain advantages to the adjustments defenses are making. And so there's a lot of work that's gone into it from a schematic standpoint. But the other thing too is obviously he's got to be healthy,
Yeah, I was gonna
and
say he's been healthy this year.
so that's yeah, he's been very healthy. And so number one, that's a credit to him, and his family and the way that they invest and he takes care of his body. Uh, the other thing is I think we've done a great job with the help of our training staff and monitoring not just him but all our players and making sure that our weight room regimen, our conditioning, our practices, how much contact and when we're doing a lot of contact and how we're breaking those periods up throughout the week and throughout practices. I think all of that's contributed to our overall team health, but Ernie specifically.
Yeah, and I'm sitting up here looking at numbers, right? So last year he had 289 carries for 2,224 yards, 21 touchdowns. He averaged 7.7 yards a carry. He's at 12 and a half yards a carry this year. That is ridiculous. And I gotta give you and your coaching staff you do deserve props because yes, it's a lot of his physical abilities, but it's also a lot of scheming. It's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
schemes and creating as coaches, we want to create the environment for our players to be successful. And I think you guys have done a very good job at creating the environment for not only him but his teammates to be successful on the field and has resulted in wins for you guys. And so I'm going to
Yeah,
give you
absolutely.
guys props for that.
Yes, and I think that I've always been and I'm not a me person. You know, I think that our offense has always had to utilize, and this goes back to my days at Isleto early on when there was a lot of games, a lot of teams that we were outmatched, and we had to learn, how to get numbers advantages and schematic advantages through formations um, to give ourselves a chance to win. And it lent itself to a lot of games that probably on paper we shouldn't have won. And I think that uh, our staff coming together, especially with our line coaches, Coach Famaligi and Coach Watkins, just the intricacies of offensive line play and the rules that are given to our kids. And then you start throwing in formations and stuff. And so, yes, we're going to run outside zone. And I'm kind of real stubborn, right, when it comes to terminology. So to me, there's a big difference between outside zone and stretch
Yeah.
and inside zone. And so, we're a heavy outside zone GT counter team. But I think that the way we run those things with formations and personnel and the gaps that Ernie's hitting, I think last year it was a lot of stretch where the ball was being positioned and blocked to just get outside.
Yeah, you could
Whereas
lose
this
a lot of that.
year, if you look at a lot of his carries, he's hitting the alley and B gap or moving C gap. And we could try to create extra gaps with a tight end or two tight ends
And
to
he's
one
untouched.
side. Yeah, and a lot of times he's untouched until he gets to the second level. But the other thing that I think that's different with Ernie isn't just the offense and the scheme and what we're doing from last year. I think it's what he did in the offseason and getting bigger and stronger, which I say that and you would hope all kids do that, but sometimes you get kids that have a junior year with 2,200 yards rushing and 20-something touchdowns, and that's a heck of a year. And they can get complacent, but he was the opposite. And he got bigger, he got stronger, and then he really committed himself to our track program. And Coach Brooks does a phenomenal job with our boys and girls track programs here, especially when you look at the 400-meter runners and below. And that was reflective in the run that they had last year in track and getting into the state meet in 6A. And Ernie was a big part of that 4x1, 4x2 relay that set all those records. And so, he developed really his speed and his speed endurance and combined that just with his strength gains in the weight room. And so you're seeing a much different runner. He's not just an older and mature runner, but he's a physically different runner than what he was last year. And so I think that's what makes it tough. I thought Eastlake early in the game did a great job. We opened up with an outside zone play, and they did a great job defending it. But because of his vision, his strength, power, and speed, I mean, he cut it back to the backside C gap and took off. And so when you're trying to defend that and corral that lightning in a bottle, I mean, it's tough. And so that's a big credit to him for sure.
I tell him he still owes me my interview.
Yeah, I will. I'll get on him.
He gave me the Heisman pose last year. I don't appreciate that. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, we'll get him on. We'll get him on.
I'm joking. No, but let's talk about the game, man. So 738 total yards of offense, 10 touchdowns, 629 yards on the ground. Was that the game plan going in?
No. We wanted to run the ball. Just like every week, right? I'm on here
Yeah.
and we talk about the importance and the investment in running the football and defending the run. We felt like we would have some opportunities, or I'm sorry, we felt like we were gonna have to, take advantage of some opportunities if they were going to use their safeties in the run game to help and gain numbers, which they did. And so I thought Lucas Garza, our quarterback, probably had one of his best games. He threw for 109 yards, but the completions were so huge for us, not just down the field, but even out on the edge, and keeping their safety somewhat at bay. I mean, they were committed to stopping the run, and they were getting extra guys and some free hitters in the box. And so we kind of loosened them up, but they were still showing up. We did have two big drops in the first half that I felt like might have opened it up a little bit more for us. But, I can't sit here and honestly tell you that when we were coming into this game, we felt like we were going to go for over 400, 500 yards of offense and 10 touchdowns. We just kind of stayed with the game plan and the kids executed it. I was really disappointed that we put the ball on the ground twice and lost those fumbles. Especially early in the first half, we were up by 3 scores, and we were in Eastlake's territory, and they did a great job of kind of standing Ernie up and pulling on his arm and punching the ball loose, and we lost that one. And I felt like Eastlake's a very dangerous team. They're explosive and they played good defense this year, and they're balanced. They can go to an odd and an even front. And I felt like their defensive line was really good, especially the Flanagan kid who I thought played outstanding.
Yeah.
Against us and gave us some fits as well, especially on the interior of our old line and when they had him at nose. But I felt like had we not fumbled, we would have scored, and then it would have been a 4-score game, and we would have kept a lot of momentum. And so they took advantage of that, and they started chipping away. And so I kind of felt like, we would get up by two scores, we'd get up by three, and then we kind of shot ourselves by putting the ball on the ground. And we got to clean that up this week and get back to a lot of fundamentals during this bye week. But um, I thought our defense out of the gate played really well. Um, and it was senior night, so we had some blown assignments on our kickoff coverage that Eastlake took advantage of. I thought we had some uncharacteristic penalties that gave Eastlake yards. And the thing is, like, I'm okay with teams going down and scoring if we've made them earn it, but when you're giving them yards because of senseless penalties and undisciplined penalties on our end, that's a real hard pill to swallow when I look at how clean or unclean our game was played on our end. So, again, it's still just, as a former coach, it's never ending, right? You're
No.
always trying to get better. You're always trying to clean up things, especially from a fundamental standpoint. And so we'll use the bye week this week to really hit those fundamentals, get our legs back underneath us, kind of heal up. 9 straight weeks and playing 6A football is tough on you. And we've been blessed. We've had some guys that we've lost, but I think overall we're in a good spot. And so if we can use this week to really sharpen up and get back to our fundamentals and get healthy, we should be sitting pretty good going into the last game of the regular season against Pebble Hills.
Yeah. No, I was sitting up here and I didn't want to interrupt you. Um, Ernie averaged 15 and a half yards a carry, and the Treyu had 9.8. I don't think I would have been throwing it much either.
No, and we haven't, and it's not that we can't throw the ball. And I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything. It's not our strongest suit. But with the exception of one game this year when we felt the need or we felt like we needed to throw the ball, I felt like we've been able to execute, especially on third down. Um, and I thought Lucas did a great job last week. And, he kind of had a dip against Eastwood, had a rough game. Um, but I felt like he did an outstanding job. Again, just from quarterback play, uh, I felt like that was really his best game.
Yeah. 8 for 11, one touchdown.
Yeah, and again, he really should have been uh, nine nine for 11 or 10 for 11. We had two drops that he threw some great balls down the field, and the drops are going to happen, but his stats really could have been a lot better, and his decision making in the RPO game was really good. We thought that we could, get sometimes some more guys that we were kind of keen off of to throw the ball, committed to the box to give us space, but he stayed disciplined and handed the ball off because that's what the numbers showed us or showed him. And so I was really proud of him and Christian Staples, our ex receiver. He had a big catch, but he also just does them. I mean, he's the best blocking high school wide receiver I've ever had the opportunity to coach.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. So, Coach, how did you guys were able to keep their run game in check per se. They did have 192 yards, but only one touchdown. But 6 touchdowns in the air. And I know the whole season we've talked about the back end of the defense. Is that one of the things that you guys plan to focus on over the next 2 weeks before your next game?
Yeah, yeah. It seems like every week, right? We're talking about something else we got to clean up in the back end, and so we had one blown coverage on third down, and it was a great scheme that Eastlake ran. So, but we blew that coverage, and they connected on it in the first half. But overall, I thought we played pretty good. I mean, there were some times where we were probably giving too much cushion, but they are very gifted at wide receiver, and so some of those one-on-one matchups, they're just the DNA thing. Their number 10 is a long, talented, athletic kid that went up and got the ball on our shorter corners. I thought we did a bad job tackling at times in space. And so their run game, I think the way the game was going, um, we were willing to give them a lighter box and ask them to run the ball or invite them to run the ball more. But the way the game was playing out, they were going to have to take to the air. We were really concerned about their quarterback's ability to run, and he got us a few times. But I thought we were able to, somewhat control and minimize the damage that he could have caused with his running. I thought we got good pressure on him, in the passing game where he had to tuck it and run. And so, we'll live with that. We'll rally up and make the tackle. But they did get some explosive plays down the field, some one-on-one matchups. We were in position. Again, their kid just made a better play on the ball than us, and we could have done a better job of bodying them up. But I can't take anything away from them. I mean, they're a very talented team. When you look at their skill positions across the board.
So as we look ahead, you guys have the bye week, then you have Pebble Hills. Going into that game, is your guys' like district standings and where teams are gonna fall out? Is that already decided?
Yeah, it's pretty much decided right now. We know that Eastwood, at the very least, unless something crazy happens, I mean, they should win out. They'll be the outright district champ. If we went out and they stumble, we would have a share of that title. But as far as like big school, small school, that should all be set. We're still waiting to see kind of what happens in District 2 6A. But I would say um, it's probably about 90% set as far as where we're going to fall. We should be the one seed big school, getting the head to head over Eastlake, and then of course Eastwood will be the one seed small school, and then Pebble Hills will be in the playoffs as well. So you're looking at right now; those are the four teams that are in.
Yeah, Eastlake almost tripped up on Friday. Eastwood almost tripped up on Friday.
Yeah, yeah,
I did.
and I think Coronado. I
I
mean,
didn't
it's
see
just
that one coming.
yeah, but I mean, it's high school football.
Yep.
It's sports, and that's what makes sports great. In Coronado, I think as much flack as they probably have caught for how they're playing and their record, I think one of the things that's showing is that their kids are still playing hard
Yeah.
and they're still competing. Um, they had Eastwood on the ropes, and I don't think Eastwood went in there taking them lightly. I think Coronado played really hard, and sometimes you're just going to have games where you're maybe not hitting on all cylinders. It's not that you took the team light. And from what I heard, it just looked like Eastwood was a little out of sync on offense, but they were able to pull it out. And so again, it's going, winning 9 games, winning 8 games, winning 10 games in a regular season in 6A is tough because your pre-district's going to be tough, and then you just know that 6A is going to be tough in itself.
Yeah, and I will say this: when it mattered, that offense went straight down the field for the win.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't see any panic. I didn't see any quit. Um, and that spoke volumes for me from the outside looking. I was like, okay, they might have had a tough game, but they're here to play. And I was very impressed with the game scoring drive at the end to win the game, to put the game away. So yeah, no, that was a interesting game. I thought Coronado, I thought they going in, they would play them tough. I think they're just a different team with Ben Wilson at quarterback. He causes a little bit more problems both with his feet and his arm. But yeah, no, good deal. Well, anything you want to say in closing, Coach?
No, man. I think it's just God. The season's flying by, right? Um,
Yeah.
so we're just hoping to finish out strong and continue to gain momentum, and then we got a tough one against Pebble Hills, and then we'll get ready for the playoffs. So I'm hoping there's still a lot of football left to be played, but we've got to earn that. And I think El Paso football. I know even looking in the 5A district, the Andres Del Valle game was big,
Oh, that
and
was a big game.
I think Chapin's playing really, really good right now. Then Hank's going and playing Cantillo and getting that one. So I think there's a lot of I think it's showing that preseason rankings are great and all, but you got to go out there and play, and week to week things can change. So um, it's been kind of nice to watch from afar at the other districts too locally, but we got to finish this thing out strong. So I look forward to talking to you in a few weeks and seeing where we're at.
Yes, sir. Coach, can you hang on for 1 second when we
Yeah,
finish this
absolutely.
up? Okay. All right. So, hey, Coach, I appreciate you coming on. Always a pleasure. Definitely love talking ball with you. So, folks, this has been another episode of the Borderlands Sports Report. Continue to watch, continue to support. We thank you guys. Have a good Sunday. Be blessed. We'll see you guys later.